We are in our final Sunday for our commitment campaign, Making Change. This is Tomorrow Matters. You'll remember that we have talked about stress levels, of ways of this, how this conversation can impact our stress level. We've talked about Tomorrow Matters. We're talking about Tomorrow Matters today. We've talked about all around this, and today's the linchpin. Today is the linchpin. Any of you have comic books as a kid? Any of you collect comic books as a kid? I didn't really collect them, but I loved them. And when I was talking to the boys about it, my boys, they said theirs was Pokemon. And you'll get that in just a minute. When I was a kid, I loved Archie Andrews comic books. I read them all the time. All the time. As a matter of fact, when I'm in the grocery aisle and I'll see them there, I'll still pick one up and kind of skim through it. As an adult now, I'm 50 years old. On my iPad, on Apple Books, I've got the works of Archie Andrews, and that when I'm stressed and just I'll go to Archie Andrews and read it. I love Archie Andrews comics. And so when I was a kid, about 12 years old, my grandfather, my dad's dad, my papa, saw me reading the comic books, and he said, "I've got something for you." He said, "Next time you're in Thomaston," which is where they lived, he said, "I'm going to give it to you." So we got there that day. He went up into the attic, and he came down with Archie Comics number 50. Probably doesn't mean anything to you. I saw it and went, "Hey, that's really neat. That's nice." I got home, back to Columbus, and I thought, I wonder how much this thing's worth. Because see, what I wanted was the Super Tecmo Bowl Super Nintendo game, and I needed $10. $10 is important. I needed $10. So I took my Archie Comics number 50, and I went to Rustin's comic book store on Buena Vista Road, and I walked in and said, "Hey, I got a comic book here. How much is this worth?" And he said, "I'll give you $12 for it." And I thought, this man is a moron. This old comic book can't be worth this. And then I thought, he must just really like me because of how many comic books I buy, and he's trying to be nice to me. And so I sold my number 50 for $12. 3 years ago, it sold for $8,400. The Lord's still working on me on that one. $8,400. And that was a level 8. A level 10, they've never actually sold one before, so you don't know how much that one's worth. I remember my dad saying to me, "Derek, just wait. Derek, you can save the money to get your game. You're making money, you're getting an allowance, you're working, you've got chores, you've got just wait, Derek. If you'll just wait, take your time." But you know what I did not want to do? Wait. You know what I was not going to do? Take my time. I wanted the immediate gratification, and I wanted it now. See, waiting for me is problematic. Anybody else here? I do not like to wait. I go to Publix, and I get in line, and as soon as people pull their phone out in front of me, my blood pressure just flies through the roof because I know they got these stupid things on their phone called digital coupons. And if you use one of those, because now I got to stand there and wait on you to do this, and I'm just losing it as I stand there. There's not enough Archie Comics there to calm me down. And then some of you will reach in your pocket or purse and pull out these things called pieces of paper coupons, and we are there all day long. I don't like to wait. And you don't either. See, I can make fun of myself here because this one's easy because I know you. You don't like to wait either. None of us like to wait. We want it now. And so there's a story here that as a Georgia fan hurts me to tell. And knowing that Jono is in the room, it's going to hurt me even more because he's going to find pure joy in it. We've been talking about it. He actually shared it on Facebook this morning as he drinks his coffee. I caught you. Do you know the name Harbaugh? Jack and Jim and John Harbaugh. Jack was a football coach before he was retired. Jim Harbaugh coached this little football team, Michigan College up in Michigan, the Wolverines. They called something, I don't know, Michigan University, whatever. They have a good football team. John is the coach of the Baltimore Ravens. And so when they were kids, and the boys would start to complain, like one day that it was snowing and it was cold and they didn't have a car to go where they wanted, and the boys started to complain to him, Jack looked at his sons, Jim and John, and said, "Who's got it better than us? Who's got it better than us?" And then their response is, "Nobody." To teach them that if you're going to be strong, if you're going to be someone who's not going to let circumstances dictate your attitude, you got to have this approach. Who's got it better than us? Nobody. And so when Jack did it after them winning the national championship game, and well, you even got your Michigan socks on. I see you over there, brother. And he wins the national championship game, and he says it, and everybody's hollering and loud and proud. But I'll tell you what was really impressive. When John, after Baltimore lost the AFC championship game, and Jack, the dad, stood up and said, "Who's got it better than us?" And John, through gritted teeth, said, "Nobody." See, the problem for us, we don't want to wait for tomorrow. We don't want to wait because we don't have the approach, we don't have the understanding of just how blessed we are, of just how good we are. So we think we've got to have what's next. We think we've got to be getting this next thing. And so our approach gets filtered in that. Our attitude, our mindset gets filtered in, if I can get these things, if I can get this thing, I'm going to get better. As a kid, part of the reason you love summer in South Georgia is because that meant you were going to be able to get watermelon, honeydew, and cantaloupe. And growing up as a kid, you only got those during the summer. You can get those 12 months out of the year now, 52 weeks out of the year. You know what's not as good now? Honeydew, watermelon, and cantaloupe. Because we have been trained and we have trained the world around us to get us what we want right now. And we think that by devaluing tomorrow and losing the specialness, it's still going to be as good. These kids today, so now get off my lawn. My boys, these kids today will never know the joy in sitting up at night with your radio boombox in front of you, with your finger over the record button, waiting on that song to come on so that you could record it and create the mixtape. Because now you can get music right now. And the anticipation and the waiting and the joy, because you knew you were about to create the perfect mixtape that you were going to give to her, and she was going to love you the rest of her life just because of this wonderful, beautiful thing that you have done. And you pictured it. Now it's instant, and we demand it. In all these different areas of our lives, in all these different areas and places and times, we demand it. How many of you won't, now we're going to preach here for a second, so just hold on. How many of you won't start a series if they don't release it all at one time? Because you ain't going to wait till next week. I'm there. Jen and I, that's the first question we have. Was this all released at once, or am I going to have to wait till next week? We have forgotten the joy of who shot JR. Those 3 words that lit you up, to be continued. But because we have become the people of right now, because we have become the people of gotta have it now, we've lost the joy of tomorrow. And as I look around the room, we all are in this. We are people that can have whatever we want, whenever we want it. The real danger in that is that we quit thinking about tomorrow. We discount the value in waiting and discount the value of tomorrow. It's hard to think about tomorrow when we have so much at our disposal today. The ability to fulfill instant gratification right now. When we simply make decisions based on what culture would have us do, or what is available to us, we devalue tomorrow. When we simply make decisions based on what our instincts would call for, we devalue tomorrow. When we make decisions based on our emotions and appetites, we devalue tomorrow. We devalue the miraculous and magnificent value of the gift called tomorrow. Where we see this most in our lives is in our finances. In our finances, we want to spend right now. Do you know why I can go home? Because I haven't bought the Apple Vision Pro. I am choosing right now to be able to go home over having that really cool technology. Would I have always made that choice in my life? the ability to see tomorrow, the ability to see what's coming. After you have your money, you can do 3 things with it. You can spend it, you can save it, or you can give it away. We don't always think of Scripture in relation to how we treat our money, mainly because we don't want to, but Scripture is clear in the area when it comes to these 3 areas. We give, we save, and we live off the rest. We give, we save, we live off the rest. Just think for a moment how much more relaxed you would be right now if you lived into that principle. How much better you would have slept last night if you gave and saved and lived off of whatever was left. In our culture, we usually spend more than we have. And we'll try to save a little bit. And if there's a couple little bit left over after that, then we'll give that away if a song or the preacher hits my heart just right, maybe. Brothers and sisters, this has nothing to do with volume. No matter how much you make, the formula is the same. Now, pause. The formula is the same. For some of you who are at the very beginning of your careers and at the very beginning of your earnings, it's harder. It's ridiculous to say it's not. So when you start talking about how much you're going to give and you're going to save, you figure out what works for you. It's not about volume. It's not about how much. It's about beginning the principle of, at the very beginning of this, I'm going to be generous. At the very beginning of this, I'm going to be generous to me in the future. I'm going to save. And then you live off of what is left. We live in a time where we have allowed ourselves to be pushed to where we spend more than we make. It's 3 steps. Save, give, live off the rest. The concept of tomorrow is not just for you personally. It works in your business life. It works in your professional career. Give, save, live off the rest. Speaking of Publix, and I'm completely off the script. Speaking of Publix, I was there about a month ago, and this guy came up to me, and he said, do you want to give to the Special Olympics? And I looked at him, and before I could respond, see, normally when they ask, when you're checking out, they ask you, do you want to give? Especially if it's food pantry, I start telling them about Tillman, and I said that on purpose. I'm in sales at the end of the day. I'm selling God, and I'm selling you. Constantly, wherever I go, I'm in sales. I'm trying to get people connected to God. I'm trying to get them connected to you, and you to God, and you to new people. That's my job. And so I'll tell them about Tillman, and then when I do that, they never ask me if I want to give to this stuff again, because they don't want to hear about Tillman. They're just trying to do what their boss told them to do. But on this day, as I'm checking out, this guy comes up to me. He goes, do you want to give to the Special Olympics? And he said it in such a way, when I looked at him, I realized, okay, something's fixing to happen. He goes, do you want to support, he asked the question again, do you want to support me and my friends at the Special Olympics? Did you catch it? And I looked at him. He goes, pretty slick, huh? And I was like, yeah, I'm fixing to put all my groceries back and give you all the money right here. I mean, here we go. And so I got home, and I talked to Jen about it, and I talked more about it. There was this moment here where I realized, man, this guy's all in. This guy's all in because it's part of who he is. This message that I want you to hear is not about you filling out a commitment card with a lot of money. This message here is about you creating life patterns that are going to help you be a better husband, a better spouse, less stressed out, more generous, kinder, so that everywhere you go, you're living in that same joy. You're living in that same peace. Now, can I look at you and say it? Pretty slick, huh? Pretty slick, huh? I don't care what you write on the commitment card financially, and I'll get to that more. What I care about is you're starting to make small deposits over time. What I care about is if you weren't praying for your church last week, this week you start praying. That if you came to church once a month, that when you fill that commitment card out, I'm going to start coming twice a month. That you're looking at these and you're committing and that you're digging in because these are the areas that will change your life. You can do three things with your time and with money. You can save, you can give, and then live off the rest. The reason God prioritizes this principle this way is because the first two are focused on tomorrow. When we give, we affirm someone else's tomorrow. We are focused on not just the generations represented in the room, but the generations still to come. We are giving and saving for tomorrow. By living off the rest, we are creating room to invest in others' ability to live. As people who are blessed to be a blessing, you knew that phrase was coming back. As people who are blessed to be a blessing, we are committing ourselves to blessing others today and tomorrow. The reason churches die is because they will live some in today, but really care about yesterday, and tomorrow will take care of tomorrow. Faithful living focuses on today and tomorrow with respect to the past. We say that so tomorrow is more blessed than today. As Americans, we flipped it. In 2024, 65% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, which is stressful. This one's the one that got me. 40% of Americans making over $100,000 per year are living paycheck to paycheck. There are life circumstances and realities that make living paycheck to paycheck a necessity. There was a time that I was a single dad. Took a huge, massive pay cut as I was becoming a single dad. I understand and I know, and it's not just in theory. I get it. But in those moments when you find yourselves at, there is no way that you're going to make more money that's going to get you out of it. Because as you make more money, if that's the principle that you live in, you will spend more money. When you are focused on tomorrow, when you are focused on what tomorrow is going to bring, and you have the ability to wait, you can have change. Young people, at the beginning of your careers, it is hard to imagine functioning any other way, especially for those of you buying diapers right now. And I support the tax break on diapers. I want you to hear me say that. It's a thing that matters right now. We save so that tomorrow is more blessed than today. If you are saving now, if you are finding a way to save now, it is going to impact you when your kids are in high school and in college. You are saving as a way to be blessing them. But most of us in this room and online, we don't have that problem. Most of us don't practice this because we aren't prioritizing tomorrow. Tomorrow matters. Proverbs 21:20, from the words of Solomon. Precious treasure remains in the house of the wise, but the fool devours it. Do you remember what Jesus said to the man who was trying to put all his faith in his possessions? You remember what he called him? See, we lose over and over when as it comes in, we consume it as quickly as it goes out. And if we don't have the plan up front, we will consume it as quickly as possible. There has to be a conversation, not just of money, remember, of time, of prayers, of presence. What's going to be discipling us? And as time, as resources, as money, as focus comes in, if we don't have a plan for us, if we don't have a plan for it, it will get consumed. Proverbs 6:6-7. Go to the ant, you lazy bones. Some of your translations have a different word. Do you remember it? You sluggard. We don't ever use that word anymore. There's probably a reason why. Consider its ways and be wise, without having any chief or officer or ruler. It prepares its food in summer and gathers its sustenance in harvest. This proverb is saying even the ant gets this, or maybe even especially the ant gets this. It works in the summer. It works in the fall because it knows that winter is coming. Winter is coming. I think somebody did a show about that. Winter is coming. Tomorrow matters. And God's even poured that into the ant. Hear me, you know what I'm saying is true right now. Tomorrow matters. But there is so much pressure on you. There is so much pressure on you with all the things that have walked into your life, you can't process it right now. And so the pastoral thing that I say to you right now is, figure out a plan as a couple. to sit down and start working through it so that you can be focused on tomorrow and how that matters. It's not just for your family, it's for your business, it's for your church, and valuing tomorrow. We live in the now and think we have to spend it now. We live in the now and think to ourselves, let tomorrow take care of tomorrow. Now, y'all ready? Proverbs 13:11. Wealth hastily gotten will dwindle, but those who gather little by little will increase it. How many times have you seen somebody win the lottery and it ruined their lives? All right, I want to make sure you hear me because this is going to get talked about a good bit. You ready? I'm going to get emails on this next sentence. I'm going to get text messages. There's going to be all kind of feelings on this next part. You can have a huge influx of cash and it make your life worse. More money, more problems. An influx of cash does not take away all your problems. The lottery winners through time have shown that. So let's say a church was fixing to get $2 million. Theoretically. What should it do? It should give. It should save. And it should live off the rest. It works in every area. It works in every walk. It is a part of the God principle of how to function, of how to live, of how to walk. Waiting and tomorrow is a biblical principle. On Wednesday night, Reverend Davis will be standing here as we begin Lent. It's 40 days of what? Waiting, of looking ahead for tomorrow. We'll come to Good Friday where Jesus is going to be murdered, lynched, at the end of the night dead. The disciples will be in mourning and afraid. The women will be questioning and crying. And do you know what God will say to them as they cry out? Wait. Wait. Tomorrow matters. It won't be fast enough, but we will find extraordinary value in tomorrow. The disciples were livid with Jesus because Lazarus, his friend, is dying. Mary and Martha are sending word all day, every day. And Jesus keeps looking at them and saying, wait. Wait. There is value in tomorrow in those people seeing that Jesus really does have the power over death. And so that when they're looking around and they're afraid and God is saying, wait, when Jesus is saying wait because he hasn't come back for 3 days, something in their minds will have learned he really can beat death. We're scared, we're afraid, but there is a power that God teaches us in waiting in tomorrow. I don't know why God structured the world this way with a priority on tomorrow, but he did. And there is a divine benefit and lesson in learning to wait and valuing tomorrow. God specializes in making people wait. Abram and Sarah wanted a baby now. What did God say? Wait. They didn't wait. How'd that turn out? The Israelites wanted to be out of the desert now. It got so bad that they said, we want out now. Even if we have to go back into slavery, we want out now. And God said, wait. The gap between the Old Testament and the New Testament is just one flip of a page, right? From Zechariah to Matthew. It's 400 years. For 400 years, people are crying out and calling out and believers saying, send us the Messiah. And for 400 years, God said, wait. God's schedule is different than ours. In my experience, God hardly ever says no. God almost always says, not yet. When it doesn't happen the way we want it, we think God has said no. When what God has said is, wait, tomorrow. When I wrote this, I was thinking as a pastor, but as I was preaching it at 8:45, and it's doing the same to me now, where I really see this in my life is not as a pastor, but as a dad, because I got 4 boys in their 20s. And I can help them get to their 30s if they'll just listen to me. And when I have that, and I'm complaining, usually to Jen, do you know what she says to me? If only they could have it together like you did in your 20s. Y'all aren't supposed to laugh at that. You're supposed to feel some kind of way for me on that. Come on, be with me on this. And so what she's teaching me and what I'm being reminded is what you know. My job is not to help them make their lives perfect. My job is to teach them to learn to trust God the way that I do. My job is to help them understand that sometimes wait is important and that tomorrow matters. God takes his time not for his benefit, but for ours. We want the honeydew now, and what God desires is the best. When we learn to value tomorrow, we are being prepared for God to show us the best. The best very rarely comes now. The best is worth waiting on that. You have heard that. You have said that. We know the value in waiting. We just don't want to worry about tomorrow. We want it now. The prophet Isaiah said in 40:31, "But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." Some of your translations don't say wait though, does it? But those who trust for the Lord. Because at the end of the day, this is what this is, this waiting. It's trusting that God has a better tomorrow planned than the plans that we're putting together today. That God has a blessing and a future that is stronger and better, and so that while we focus on the tomorrow, God is leading and shaping and molding us today. And these scriptures are not just about money. When we invest small amounts of time, energy, exercise over a long period of time, on time, there is a cumulative value. When you get ready to turn in these commitment cards, I hope you read that scripture on it one more time. Your commitment of prayers, presence, witness, service, and Bible reading on time over an extended period of time will bring you closer to God and God's divine purpose for your life than any one big dramatic event could ever do. Small deposits over time build up. If you're going to fill that commitment card out and it's going to make you mad, don't do it. Because the Lord loves a cheerful giver. If you're going to be talking about volunteering or serving in areas or praying and it pulls you further away from God, knock it off. Because the point here is not to fund a budget. The point here is not to figure out how to get as much money and time out of you as possible. The point is to draw you closer to Christ. Pretty slick, huh? Last piece as the band comes forward. Remember that time you had a crisis and you went to God and prayed and God didn't answer quickly enough, so you haven't gone back? Prayer is found on time, over time, that are prayers that connect us to the holy and to the habit of trusting God today and tomorrow. The worst thing that happened to me in college is that I aced my first test without trying. I hadn't even bought the book for the class yet. Aced it. So I thought, I'm brilliant. I may be the smartest person here. But what I didn't realize is all we were doing was covering the material that I had learned as a senior in high school. There was going to be material that I had not covered in high school, and it was coming quick. And so when I got to the end of the semester, you know what I had to do? Cram. And I passed, but I did not thrive. And I did not experience all that there was to experience in that cramming. In your prayer life, don't cram just for those big crisis events. Develop the habit of small deposits over time, a prayer life, a devotional life. Prioritize being present with your church family. Prioritize small groups. Prioritize worship. Prioritize service. Prioritize making deposits in your spiritual bank, because it will change your life. And even if you don't do it for you, think about tomorrow and your kids. Where in your life are you in crisis? Hey, I do walk down here. Where in your life are you in crisis and you most badly need small deposits over time to change your life? That's where you should be filling out the commitment card. Where in your life is your life falling apart and you're saying, this is the thing that I need to do right now that's going to bring me closer to Christ, that's going to bring my family closer to Christ, that's going to bring the church into my life in a way that's going to be healthy and going to make my life better for Christ. So let's go back to that Tillman. Tomorrow matters. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be driving to Covington to pick Jen's mom up with Jen and her sister. She's having major surgery tomorrow. Tomorrow matters. Now, did we just start talking to doctors yesterday about this surgery? No, that's ridiculous. They've had multiple opinions and multiple conversations. They've been digging into this and studying, and the right doctor and the right hospital, and they're knowing when they walk in tomorrow, they've been making these small deposits over time to know that they're in the right place. Tomorrow, the soon-to-be Reverend John O'Malley is going to be going in front of the Board of Ordained Ministry. Did he just start yesterday? No. He's been pouring into and making small deposits over time and growing so that when he comes in front of that Board of Ordained Ministry, they're going to be able to say to him, well done. And do you want clergy? Do you want a pastor that has not made that kind of commitment and does not have a denomination making that kind of commitment in them? Tomorrow matters. And at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, you're going to hear a little bit about this too. Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, the City Council is going to be voting on the planning and zoning, on the zoning changes for Tillman. If it passes, and we expect it will, roughly $2 million will go in the bank after fees. With $600,000 in capital debt here at the church. So 1.4. $200,000 to turn the YB into the Tillman, 1.2. Everybody with me? Because I'm getting somewhere, 1.2. I get asked a lot, where do you want that 1.2 million to go? What do you think is the most important thing for our church today? Can you figure out what I'm about to say? Tomorrow, I want to dig wells that our children's children will draw water from. I want to plant trees that are going to provide shade for your kids' kids and for future generations and for strangers. I want us to be investing the money in ways that are going to be transformative, not just for this church, but for this community and for the kingdom. So how do we do that? Hey, I have an idea. We give, we save, and we live off the rest. In every area, that's where comfort is found. That is where future is found. And that is where the hope and the planning for tomorrow lives. So as you come to this altar and as you place your card on the altar, whether it's financial or whether it's prayers or whether it's presence, whatever that is, I hope that you're coming forward and saying, God, I trust you in the tomorrow, and that when I give you my tomorrow, I know that you're going to take care of today. And that in that we have hope as believers and followers in Christ. Come, let's build tomorrow. Let's stand and sing.